having a negative sign, whereas
Share my screen.
kernel, this e to the power j 2 pi ft is called kernel of the transform. This is having positive sign in case of inverse CTFT.
Sir, either screen is not visible.
Okay, let me share. Now visible? Is it visible
Yes, sir.
now?
Yes, sir.
So see that the upper equation is the definition of the continuous time Fourier transform, usual definition. This e to the power minus j 2 pi ft, this is called kernel of the transform. This exponential thing, this is called kernel. This is called kernel of the transform. So in the definition of forward transform, it is the e to the power minus j 2 pi ft, and kernel in case of inverse transform is having a positive sign. Otherwise, one and same thing. But because I have already told you that if you want to, let us say, implement anything in the software or anything on a computer cannot compute this entire quantity, because this equation is defined for every possible value of f as well as every possible value of t. So you have infinite computations required if you are directly evaluating this. So this CTFT and inverse CTFT is important only theoretically. They have little use as far as practical implementation on any software or DSP chip or any other thing of that kind is concerned. But one thing is, important that this entire operation of forward Fourier transformation and inverse Fourier transformation can be represented in time and frequency axis, which I am showing perpendicular to each other. The reason for showing time and frequency axis orthogonal to each other will become clear in a little while. But for the time being, you consider that this particular axis is representing a time domain signal. This particular axis is representing frequency domain signal. This particular axis will then represent x of minus t. And this axis will represent x of what is happening? What will you obtain? You will obtain x. Is that clear? So f raised to the power taking 4 consecutive Fourier transformation of a signal from this diagram. What will you get? Fourier transform is essentially rotation by 90 degree. So from xt you are reaching x of f. If you again take Fourier transform, you will reach x of minus t. If you again take Fourier transform, you will reach to x of minus f. If you take the Fourier transform 4 times, you will reach to the same signal. So this will be an identity operator. F to the power 4. Now can you tell me what will be the value of f to the power 6? If I take or apply f to the power 6 on any signal x of t, can you tell me what you will get? Anyone? What will you get?
X of minus t.
X of minus t. Good. So you understood this simple fact, and in fact this is sometimes written in the textbook in the form of a theorem called duality theorem. That if x of, what is the problem today with this board? I am not able to find it out. If x of t if x of t has a Fourier transform x of f, then Fourier transform of x of t will be x of minus f. This is what is called duality theorem. This must be, so this is very evident from this diagram. If xt has a Fourier transform x of f, then the Fourier transform of x of f or rather x of t will be x of minus t. Same thing is written in the form of a theorem called duality theorem. Same thing. So the transform domain signal is denoted by capital case letters and time domain signal is represented by small case letters. Is that clear?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So some students are unable to join. They are still waiting in queue.
Is that fine now? Okay? Yes. Duality theorem. Now, another important thing or say property of this Fourier transform is that your signal, I mean for this to exist, your signal x of t should be absolutely integrable. That is the definite, I mean condition for existence of, what is this? Why it is happening today? I mean let me take from here that if you integrate this function from minus infinity to infinity dt, this entire expression should be finite, less than infinite. Okay, then only you can compute this x of f using this definition of CTFT. So function should be absolutely integrable. Okay, function should be absolutely integrable function. Now, in general, if you have, let us say, PS power here, and we say that if mod of xt raised to the power p is finite, then we say that my signal xt belongs to LP class signal in general. So, for Fourier transform to exist, your signal should belong to L1 class. And sometimes this L and that L are same, and sometimes we also denote by this because the reason limits of integration are from minus infinity to infinity. That entire real axis is denoted by this R. So sometimes we write it like this capital R or say R in a mathematical form represents the set of real numbers. Now, p is equal to 2. For p is equal to 2, can you tell me what will be the value of this integral? You are familiar with this? For p is equal to 2, what is this quantity? Mod xt square is finite. What is mod xt square integrated from infinity to infinity? This is the energy of the signal. So, we can say that L2R signals are finite energy signals because this mod xt squared when integrated from infinity to infinity is finite. Agree? So this quantity mod xt square integrated from this is precisely the energy of the signal. And if this is energy is finite, we will say that my signal belongs to L2R class. Now this R is representing that this limit is from minus infinity to infinity. If the limits are finite, we can also say that signal belongs to
नीचे तो hedge fund से related है और ये investment banking से related है जैसे मॉडल निकाल लोगे सारे
the range of integration are from
कौन
Hello?
इतना पैसा कमाते हैं फिर कुछ ना कुछ कांड करके गांड मार देते हैं इकोनॉमी की सालों के पास कितनी पावर होती है इजीली बन जाता है ये तो होता ही है
Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Is there any echo or what you want to get me explain anything? Do you want to repeat me something? Is that clear? That Fourier transform is defined for L1R signals because the signal should be absolutely integrable. Now, what is the problem with this L1R definition? That even if your xt belongs to L1R, your Fourier transform of this signal may not belong to L1R. Whereas, if your signal is finite energy signal, that is L2R signal, your Fourier transform of this signal will always be L2R. So there is a perfect symmetry between time domain signal and frequency domain signal for finite energy signals, and any real life signal will be a finite energy signal only. Most of the time, or real life signals are always finite energy signals. So perfect symmetry, I mean you are guaranteed that if xt is a finite energy signal, its Fourier transform will also be a finite energy signal. Finite energy means L to R. What is this 2? 2 is denoting the value of this power here. In general, this power was agreed or not? Mod xt to the. Now, what is this L? This L is representing a important type of integral called Lebesgue integral. Normally, in most of the engineering and physics applications, we are using this formula, which are in fact belong to an integral class, which is called Riemann integral. जो भी हमारे साइन के इंटीग्रल के फार्मूले हमें याद होता है, अभी तक तुम लोगों ने रीमान इंटीग्रल को यूज किया है. And in most of the people are satisfied with that. On the discussion of Fourier transform or the convolution of integral, that is called Lebesgue integral. So L is standing for this Lebesgue integral. There are differences between Lebesgue integral and Riemann integral. They are not same. And one of the important properties of this Lebesgue integral is that suppose you have a signal xt and you have another signal, say you call it x1 and now x2. Same signal but which is differing from this at countable number of locations. Say the value of x2 here is 3, value here is 5, value here is -4. So in this figure, I am showing two signals, x1t, which was shown earlier. Now I am showing another signal. Let me use some other ink. So this is another signal, x2t, which is identical with x1t, except at 3 locations, where the value of x2t is 3, 5 and -4. Now the Lebesgue integral of these two signals will be same, because they are differing only at countable number of locations only. So your Fourier transform of these two signals, x1t and x2t, will be same. In fact, you can define infinite number of such signals whose Lebesgue integral will be same, but they are theoretically different signals. Even if they are differing at one location, they are two different signals. But they are differing not over an interval. Suppose you have a signal which is identical and another signal which is identical with this, except at this interval. So between, let us say, T1 and T2, you have a different signal, otherwise you are having, it is identical with x1t. Now the Lebesgue integral of these two signals will be different, because they are not differing at countable number of locations of measure 0, but they are now differing over an interval from T1 to T2. And the difference between T2 minus T1 is not 0. Do you understand or not? So if signals are differing over an interval, their Lebesgue integral will be different. But if the two signals are there which are equal everywhere except at countable number of locations of measure 0, then their Lebesgue integral or Fourier transform will be same. Understood? Hello?
Yes, sir.
तो I mean, पहली चीज हमने क्या कहा कि ये जो डेफिनेशन थी तुम्हारी, ये जो यूजुअल डेफिनेशन है टेक्स्ट बुक्स में, दिस इज डिफाइंड फॉर, I mean xt should be L1 signal. L1 means integral xt from infinity to infinity should be finite. But if it is, I mean, not guaranteeing that even if xt is L1R signal, your Fourier transform will not be L1R. The moment x of f is not in L1R, you cannot use this inverse transform definition. Let me give another example. Or the most common example which you are familiar with. You start with a pulse signal which is starting from say minus tau by 2 to tau by 2. Its Fourier transform is a sinc function. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
But this sinc function is not L1R. This pulse is L1R. But this sinc is not L1R. That means you cannot take the inverse Fourier transform of this sinc function. On the other hand, this sinc belongs to L2R signal. Its energy is finite. So this very common example of a pulse and sinc function is violating our definition of L1R signals. But this is the very definition for L2R class. But the definition of Fourier transform for L2R class is slightly modified. You cannot use the same definition which you were using for L1R. It is defined as x of t is equal to minus n to plus n x of f e raised to the power j 2 pi f t dt. This is the definition of inverse Fourier transform, and then ultimately you have to take the limit of this. You allow n to tend to infinity. So in fact, this limit of xnt is a signal which is indexed by n, and the limit of this as n tends to infinity will be a function that will be the definition of L2R inverse Fourier transform of a signal. So now if you use sinc function in this definition and then take the limit, that will give you this pulse signal. That what I am trying to emphasize here is that there are some, minute points which you should be familiar with. These are subtleties which are required to be known by you. Otherwise, you will miss it out. So what I am saying is that the most simple or common example of a pulse signal which have a sinc as a Fourier transform pair, then the inverse transform of this sinc function is pulse signal, but in this sense of limit. Okay? In general, this sinc function is not absolutely integrable. Agreed? So these are Fourier transform pair in the L2 sense, finite energy sense, or in this definition. So these are some findings which you should be familiar with. There are many other differences between a Riemann integral and Lebesgue integral. For example, let me mention one such difference, that xt if so is mod x. If mod xt is Lebesgue integrable, so is xt. Such thing does not hold good in general for Riemann integral. So these two statements will not hold good in general for Riemann integration of a function. So there are differences, but we need not worry about Lebesgue integral as such. But in mathematics, there is a textbooks available on this Lebesgue integral. We have just to remember in one point that the integral involved in the Fourier transform definition It's not ordinary Riemann integration, but it is a Lebesgue integration. That is sufficient for us as far as this course is concerned. And there is a perfect symmetry between Fourier transform of a signal if you are defining it in a L2 sense. This is what I am saying. If signal is L2R signal, its Fourier transform is guaranteed to be L2R. Such condition does not hold good in L1 case. This is what I have written here. If Xt belongs to L1R, its Fourier transform may or may not belong to L1R. It's not guaranteeing you, but L2R is guaranteeing you. So most commonly we are using the L2R definition, which is slightly involved or slightly defined differently. You have to truncate the limit from minus infinity to infinity. We are first truncating it to some finite number. A minus and to our Fourier transform of a given thing. Now let us move forward. Just one important property of this Fourier transform is that if you take this xt y conjugate t dt, then this quantity will be the same as x of f y conjugate f dx. And this quantity is precisely a term called inner product between xt and yt. So this is called inner product preservation property of the Fourier transform. This quantity is called inner product. This is the symbol, a triangular bracket, and you are writing down two signals separated by two commas. The two signals separated by commas written in a triangular kind of bracket is a symbol for inner product or dot product. You must be familiar with your dot product between two vectors. So inner product and dot product is one and same thing. So whatever is the inner product which we have learned for a two vectors, A is equal to 3i plus 2j plus 4k. Another vector which you might take as 4i minus 3j minus 7k. What will be the value of dot product? Anyone? What will be the value? Say first 4, that is first vector. What is the second vector? 4 minus 3 minus 7. What is the dot product? 2 into 4. नहीं क्या लिख दिया मैंने? 3 to 4. It will be 3 to 4. Now tell me the value. Dot product 3 into 4 plus 2 into minus 3 plus 4 into minus 7. What is the final answer?
Minus 20.
12 minus 6, that is 6, and minus 28. So what is the final answer? A dot B. Hello?
Minus 22.
Minus 22. The final answer for this is minus 22. So dot product is always a number. The same thing same dot product can be extended for continuous time signals. And this is one definition of the dot product. We are using the word inner product here just because this is a more general expression. Dot product is generally used in case of vectors only. But now you have extended this definition of dot product or inner product to continuous time signals. And the property of Fourier transform is that on the left hand side you are having continuous time signals, whereas on the right hand side of this you are involving Fourier transform of the same signals. So whether you compute the inner product in, so this is nothing but inner product between x of f and y of f. So how do you take the inner product? Take one signal directly, take complex conjugate of another signal, integrate it. You will obtain a number. Remember, inner product is always a number. तुमने मैं डॉट प्रोडक्ट पढ़ा होगा मैट्रिक्स सॉरी वेक्टर्स का. So dot product of any two vectors is always a number. So here also this xt y star indicates for conjugation. Say for example e to the power j omega 0 t. In that case the conjugate will be e to the power minus j omega 0 t. J is replaced by minus j, complex conjugate. So whether you compute the inner product in time domain or whether you compute the inner product in frequency domain, inner product will be same. This property is called inner product preservation property of the Fourier transform. If inner product is 0, the two signals will be, क्या बोलेंगे, क्या बोलते हो, डॉट प्रोडक्ट 0 होता है तो वेक्टर्स को क्या बोलते हो?
Perpendicular.
Perpendicular to each other, then we will call it orthogonal here. The two signals xt and yt will be orthogonal to each other if their inner product is 0. That means this value of this integral is 0. This concept is very important in case of your digital communication, where if you compute the inner product of received signal with known signal, you will obtain a non-zero inner product. But if you take the inner product with any other signal, because of the orthogonal choice at the transmitter, this right hand side integral will be 0 or very close to 0. Understand or not?
Yes, sir.
So this inner product computation is very important in digital communication. Suppose your xt is the received signal and yt are the locally generated signal, then you are computing the similarity or inner product between the received signal and locally generated signal. If it matches, then the value of the inner product will be very large. If xt is different from yt, value of the inner product will be almost 0 or very close to 0. So you can very easily distinguish what is the received signal. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
रखते हैं.
Hello? Fourier transform is that if you have an LTI with impulse and if you apply omega 0 t as minus signal, what will be the outcome of it? It will be some constant times same signal.
गलत लेना है ना.
Some same.
मैं से लेने चलेंगे. क्यों?
मोबाइल डेटा है.
मोबाइल डेटा है. मैं डेटा की बात.
Hello. See, this is an important property of any LTI system, and this is also connected with the Fourier transform theory. What I am saying is that if you apply a sinusoidal signal of say frequency omega 0 as input to the LTI system with impulse response h of t, what I am saying is that the output is still a sinusoidal signal. This is called eigenfunction. Your shape of the signal remains same. That's why I am using the term eigenfunction. But the amplitude gets modified by or multiplied by t. Similarly, your phase shift gets shifted by a factor of 5. Now, can you tell me how to compute the value of this k and phi from this h of t? Anyone? This k, I mean, if you this k is nothing but you compute the Fourier transform of this system and evaluate this at f is equal to f0. That is the frequency of input signal. This omega 0 can be written as 2 pi into f0. So, but you will have some, I mean, this will be in general some complex quantity. So, k will be the absolute value of this, and the phase is nothing but the phase value of this h of f when f is equal to f0. So here also your Fourier transform is playing an important role. The value of the constant k by which amplitude gets multiplied can be obtained by the amplitude of the Fourier transform or absolute value of the Fourier transform evaluated at f is equal to f0. See, in general your frequency response of h of f can be something like this. So this you are sampling it at f is equal to f0. This is the value of k. And phase value at this frequency, phase value of the Fourier transform, because h of f is in general complex quantity. Any complex quantity will be having some phase. 2 plus 3j, this is the phase angle. Tan phi is equal to 3 by 2. 2 plus 3j. What is the phase angle is? Tan phi is equal to 3 by 2. So likewise, so what we are saying is that a sinusoidal signal preserves its shape when it passes through an LTI system. So sinusoidal signals will be eigenfunctions of LTI system. But of course, the phase gets Fourier transform of impulse response, frequency response of the system, h of f. Be it amplifier or be it, the Fourier transform is also playing an important role here in the eigenfunction. For today is just for your general knowledge only. But just now I gave you this, the orthogonal axis was represented frequency axis. Then this was also the minus t, x of minus t reflection of signal. Then if this is x of f, this was representing reflection. A question is a situation like this, where I am not directly jumping by 90 degrees, but let us say I am jumping by 45 degrees. So after two consecutive transformation operation, I can reach to the Fourier transform of the signal. Fourier transform कितने डिग्री से शिफ्टेड होता है टाइम डोमेन से?
90 degree.
Anyone? 90 डिग्री. मैं एक ऐसा ऑपरेटर तुम्हारे सामने कह रहा हूँ कि f of alpha 1 operated by f of alpha 2, and if alpha 1 that is equivalent to f of alpha 1 plus alpha 2, and if this operator alpha 1 plus alpha 2 is equal to 90 degree or pi by 2 radian, then I can reach to the same Fourier transform. So they need not be pi by 4. It can be alpha 1, it can be alpha 2. And alpha 1 and alpha 2 are any arbitrary angles. This operator is called fractional Fourier transform. This operator at any arbitrary angle is what is called fractional Fourier transform. So I can talk of Fourier raised to the power half, Fourier raised to the power 1 by 3. I can talk of Fourier operator raised to the power 1 by 4 or any other number. These operators have now meaning. Earlier I was saying like this, that f to the power 4 is the identity operator. But what is f to the power half? What is f to the power 1 by 3? They are nothing but fractional Fourier transform operator. If f to the power 1 is your conventional Fourier transform, and this conventional Fourier transform satisfies this relation, f to the power 4 is equal to identity operator. But we can also define any arbitrary operator corresponding to any general angle alpha 1. And the general definition or the integral definition of this fractional Fourier transform is something like interesting. 1 minus j cot alpha upon 2 pi equals the f of t e to the power j t square plus u square cot alpha by 2 minus j tu cosec alpha dt. This is fractional Fourier transform. So the kernel transform is actually in, you see this kernel, what is about e square by 2 cot alpha minus j tu cos alpha dt. So if you put alpha is equal to pi by 2, this cot alpha will be 0, cosec alpha will become 1, and this reduces to your Fourier transform. So fractional Fourier transform is a Fourier transform. And when alpha is equal to pi by 2. Agreed? Hello?
Yes, sir.
हेलो, ये अल्फा की जगह डिग्री लो, 30 डिग्री का ट्रांसफॉर्म का, फिर बाद जो आएगा सिग्नल उसका एक बार 60 डिग्री ले लो, तो तुम्हें मिल जाएगा
Fourier
30
transform.
followed by 60 degree or 80 degree, you will reach to Fourier. 20 और 70 क्या मिल जाएगा? Fourier. यहाँ पे हमें यहाँ पे पहुँचना है. And remember, you can have infinite representation of the same thing. Here is a special नहीं है. क्या is possible जो हमने normally दिखाते हैं या दिखती है, केवल वो नहीं है. Particularly infinite and these are called fractional Fourier transform of a signal. Fourier transform definition, you have to just replace j by minus j. जैसे minus inverse इस j की जगह minus रखोगे तो you will get the inverse fractional Fourier transform. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Now one last thing. I mean, this is not the part of your course. fractional Fourier transform, but just for your sake of knowledge, I am telling you that Fourier transform is only one special case of this generalized transform called fractional Fourier transform, and this fractional Fourier transform you have to put alpha is equal to pi by 2. Alpha is equal to 0 will represent time domain signal. Now, one more, general transform exists, and that is called linear canonical transform. This is also not in your code, just for an introduction, LCD. What I am saying is that this will also involve some kernel, e to the power something, dt. Now in this something, you will obtain some parameter ABCD. And if this ABCD parameter, if you take cos alpha, sin alpha, cos alpha minus sin alpha, then you will this LCD reduces to fractional Fourier transform. And if in this fractional Fourier transform you take alpha is equal to pi by 2, this will reduce to your conventional Fourier transform. So this LCD represents a general transform, and this will contain these 4 parameters ABCD. But AD minus BC is always 1. AD in this AD minus BC, this is always 1. So only three parameters are there. So, but if you choose A is equal to cos alpha, B is equal to sin alpha, C is equal to minus sin alpha, and D is equal to cos alpha, this LCT or linear canonical transform reduces to fractional Fourier transform. Otherwise, ABCD are arbitrary. They can be even complex numbers. The only restriction on ABCD are that AD minus BC should be equal to 1. And the advantage of these LCT and fractional Fourier transform, although they are general transforms, is that the bandwidth of a signal gets reduced in these transforms as compared with the conventional Fourier transform. And if the bandwidth of the signal gets reduced, the sampling rate and transmission bandwidth of the signal gets reduced. So this is actually my PhD area, theorems connected with this linear canonical transform and fractional Fourier transform. And we have shown that as compared with the conventional Fourier transform, these transforms offer reduced sampling rate for a perfect signal reconstruction. These transforms allow us to sample the signal at a lower rate, and still we are able to recover the original signal back. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
So we will stop here, and in the next class we will discuss either say some remaining portion of these topics, and then we will move on to introduction of random signals. Okay? So we will stop here and we will meet on Monday. Any
Thank
questions?
you, sir.
Okay.